Alright, today we're going to create one of the most common things made in CAD, which is a bolt. In today's lesson you need to make sure and pay close attention, put your headphones on, and follow along, pause the video as you need. Okay, so your final product should look similar to this. I'm basing this off this picture. So let's get started. So you will be starting with a new blank slate like this, and we need to create a sketch, and I want you to pick the front on the view cube, click on it, and then click right here on this little plane, and now we're in our sketch mode and we have all of our sketching tools. When you do the drop down, well, before we start, click on the drop down on document settings, make sure this is in inches. If it's not, click on this little unit changer option, come over to the right, select inches, make it your default, and say OK. Okay, now that your units are right, let's start drawing. I like to start by drawing the head of the bolt, so we'll be drawing this part. So we'll go to create and polygon, circumscribed polygon. Click in the center and drag out. I'm going to drag straight up along this green axis, or whatever axis is here, drag up it. And if you look, it's drawing this from the radius. So we want a 1-inch bolt head. But if this is only half of that, 0.5, if we're drawing from the radius, we need to divide 1 in half. So to make 1-inch diameter, we need 0.5 radius. So 0.5 plus 0.5, 1 inch. Okay, it's given me the dimension. I can click on that and remove that just so it doesn't confuse me. And we're on our way. So let's go ahead and finish this sketch. And I like to grab the view cube and tilt it just a little bit and do extrude. And I'm going to tilt it again just so I can see which direction it's extruding. And I want to make this bolt head, I don't know, let's do 0.4. Okay. Let's look at our actual bolt head, our bolt, and see for our reference again. So, okay. We'll get the main body of the bolt built, and then we'll do some of the details on the head last. So I want you to pick a side of this. I'm going to pick the one that says back, which is right here. And I'm going to create a sketch on here, on this face. Make sure this face is selected. Then draw a circle. Go to the circle tool, click in the center, drag it out. Now this is drawing the diameter. And we want about 3/4 of the distance, or maybe 2/3. So let's do 0.6. Enter. Okay, I'm going to rotate that a little bit so I can see it. Say finish sketch. Go to the extrude tool. Click on the circle so it's highlighted. It'll turn blue. And we can drag this out. Let's make ours 3 is a pretty common length for bolts. So let's do 3 inches. Enter. Okay, so time to let's put a little chamfer on this. So let's go to modify and do chamfer. It just helps it thread on when they have a little chamfer on the end. So too much. Let's see, 0.03. Let's do 0.03. Just give us a little chamfer. Say OK. And now let's thread this. So to thread this, you go to Create, Thread, select the shaft, and then over here on this box, click Modeled. If you don't do that and you go to like 3D print this, it's like this is a picture right now. But to actually model it into it, you click on Modeled. And you can adjust the thread type here. There are coarse threads, fine threads, metric threading, and standard threading. You can leave it on the default ANSI, which is what we use here as a standard thread type for the US. It's pretty common. It's a coarse thread. This would be for like a larger bolt. The finer the bolt is, the finer the threads typically. And you can adjust the threads with the designation. The further up you go on this designation, the finer the threads become. So you can play around with that and pick a thread that you like. But once you get a thread on here that you like, say OK. Okay, we're cooking. So sometimes they won't thread all the way up. The threads will like end here and there'll be like a slick part. That's typical of longer bolts. When you're trying to pull two things together, it kind of allows them to slide together. But we're just going to have this threaded the entire distance. But you can adjust that. And if I want to go back and adjust that, I could come down here in my timeline and click on, you can see this is keeping track of what I've been doing. I can click on this thread part. It'll take me back to that option. And you could play around with this and you know how that works. So if we wanted to, we could come back and add that later. Alright, so let's get some of the details on the head of this bolt. So once again, if we look at our picture, it has these little lines designating the hardness of the metal. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a grade 8 bolt. And there's also a little fillet here as well. So we'll add those and do our initials and then we'll be done. So I want you to create a sketch on this face and zoom in a little bit. Pick the line tool. Start here at the top at the center. You can see if I hover over that, the triangle shows up, which shows me that's the center. And I'm going to draw a line down. Point 010. Oops, no, that's not right. Sorry. Control Z to undo. Or you can click the undo right here. Let's draw a line. 0.1. Okay, and it gave me a dimension. I'm going to delete that just so it's not in my way. Just leave the line. I'm going to type L for the line tool. I'm going to snap to where I left off and pull to the right. I'm going to type 0.02. Enter. I'm going to delete this dimension. Type the L for line tool. Go down. Let's go down 0.15. Enter. And delete this dimension. Do the L for line tool. I'm going to click where I left off. Go over 0.04. Enter. Do the L for the line tool. And I can do two things here. I can hover over this one and come to the left. And right there I know that it's the same distance. Or I could type 0.15. Okay, and then I'm going to finish off by zooming in and making sure that these two snap together. And now I can hit escape and I can delete this reference line that I drew and just leave this little rectangle. But if you look at our drawing, that rectangle is kind of rounded. So what we want to do is do a fillet on this. So you come up to the fillet tool on the modify, and you can click on the corners, and it does a little fillet. You can make this larger if you want, but that's okay. Just a little round over is all we need. Then I'm going to say finish sketch, and it's time to revolve this. So I'm going to go to, oh, actually I jumped ahead a little too soon. So we need to go back to that sketch. So I can go back to it. Since I finished it, let's go back to it. Down here in the timeline, it's the last thing I did. You can double click on that. It's going to come back up in sketch mode. Then I'm going to go to create circular pattern. And then I'm going to zoom in on this, drag a box over it, and then I'm going to go to center point on the right on my options, on my menu. I'm going to select the center of this, and then on mine I have to scroll down and find where it says 3. I want, I believe there's 6 of those. Okay. Now I want to finish my sketch and go to extrude and extrude each of these out just a tiny bit. Oops, I accidentally clicked on this face, so I'm going to click on it to unselect it. Everything in blue is selected. I'm going to type 0.01, and that'll just bump those up a little bit. So if you look at our picture, we're getting close to how they are. They have their edges all filleted. I'm not going to make you do that, but if you wanted to and you have extra time, what you could do is go in and do the fillet and select all these. And then type in a small number here. Let's see, 0.01 is about how high we rose them up, so that makes sense to do a 0.01. So all right, let's go ahead and put your initials on this. So once again, create a sketch on this face. Go to create text, click where you want to start a box and click where you want to end a box. Just do it somewhere in this area. Type your initials, and then under height you can shrink those. So see what 0.15 does. It's a pretty good size. So 0.15, you make it bigger if you want. I'm going to make mine bold. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to move them and get them more centered. I'm going to say finish sketch, then extrude, select my name or my initials, and I'm going to do, I can just drag this down or I can type in a number, but I just want my initials cut in a little bit. Okay, and then and you can make these stick out and kind of like match these if you want to do 0.01. Maybe that would look better. Let me try that and see what it looks like. 0.01. Oh yeah, maybe that looks better. And you could select these. I want you to have your initials and have them stick out, but you don't have to fillet them. I think I'm going to fillet mine. So 0.01, I'm going to fillet the D. Oh, I got to rotate this a little bit. It's trying to select the threads. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, one last thing. If you look at our bolt, it's got a chamfer. So we're going to put that chamfer on. So I'm going to get the bolt so it's oriented like so. and then I'm going to say construct a plane. And then I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and maybe it's going to be best to look at it from the bottom. Yeah, maybe not. Just kind of rotate it, and maybe holding shift and your scroll wheel is going to be a better way to do this. Try to find one of these planes that lines up with the point, and I can see a plane inside of here that is lining up with the point. Is this one right? It'll let me select this. Whoa. This one right here, and you might have to rotate it till you can select that. But you want to select the plane that, like I said, is lining up with the point, and then say OK. And now you've selected that plane to draw on. Well, not first. You got to go to create sketch and then select that plane one more time, and then on the right over here say slice, and now it's sliced that bolt on that plane. Okay, so get it sliced and then zoom in on this bottom left corner and pick the line tool, and then start outside of this, like out here, and then click and come in. Let's do, this might be a little big, but let's do 0.2, and then hover over till it lines up. See how it like has that dashed line that appeared? That shows me that it's lining up with that. And I want you to go up or down until it reads about 30 degrees. Try to get it as close to 30 as you can. Mine's snapping to about 30.1. That's close enough. I'm going to click there. I'm going to come down and connect those. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the sketch. I'm going to go to the revolve tool, and it automatically selected that. So now I just need to select the axis. So if I look over here on the right, it selected that for me. If it didn't, I would go over and select that, and now I need to select the axis, and if you click anywhere on this thread, it'll work. So it just knows. Okay, and that was just a little too much, but let's see if it'll do it. I'm gonna hit OK. Alright, so for this assignment's sake, that's fine. If you wanted to tune that in, you can go back to where we drew it down here in Sketch 5. Double click on that, and you can shrink it down like that, and then say Finish Sketch, and you can see that's working a little better. But if you notice in the picture, it like is just barely a sliver there, whereas ours is, you know, still pretty big right there. So I'm going to go back to that again in my timeline, and I'm going to grab the hypotenuse and I'm going to shrink it down some more. Say Finish Sketch, and I'm just going to do that a couple times until I get it pretty close. Okay, that looks more accurate. So there we go. And I think that's it. Let's look at our bolt. In comparison, I think we did a pretty good job. So last thing to do is let's change the material. Go to Modify and go to Physical Material, and let's go to Metal, and it's kind of like a brass color, honestly. Well, I guess not brass, maybe more of a bronze cast? No? Let's look it up. So I just googled what is grade 8 bolts, what are they made of? It says carbon alloy steel, medium carbon alloy steel. So these are alphabetical, so if I went down to steel, I think that's what it originally was, but I think they anodized it a little bit or something. But yeah, if we looked long enough, I'm sure we could find the exact steel in here that they do with this bolt. I think it has a special coating on it so that it doesn't rust. So yeah, you could see if you could find that and make it look, oh, this galvanized, that's what it is. Well, there are galvanized ones, that one isn't. So anyways, just pick something that looks bolt-like. It can be galvanized or steel. You can just find something that looks bolt-like. And then go down in your search menu and type Snipping Tool. It's going to pop up like this. Do New. And then just drag a box and save that and go ahead and submit that. Alright, thank you.